This is part three of Two Kinds. I soon found out why old Chong had retired from teaching piano. He was deaf. Like Beethoven, he shouted to me. We're both listening only in our heads. And he would start to conduct his frantic, silent sonatas. Deaf means you can't hear. Our lessons went like this. He would open the book and point to several things explaining their purpose. Key, treble, bass, no sharps or flats. Flats. So this is C major. Listen now and play after me. And then he would play the C scale a few times, a simple chord, and then as if inspired by an old, unreachable itch, he gradually added more notes and running trills and pounding bass until the music was really something quite grand. I would play after him the simple scale, the simple chord, and then I just played some nonsense that sounded like a cat running up and down on top of garbage cans. Old Chong smiled and applauded and then said, Very good, but now you must learn to keep time. So that's how I discovered Old Chong's eyes were too slow to keep up with the wrong notes I was playing. He went through the motions in half time. To help keep rhythm, he stood behind me, pushing down on my right shoulder for every beat. He balanced pennies on top of my wrist so I would keep them still as I slowly played scales and arpeggios. He had me curve my hand around the apple to keep that shape when playing chords. He marched stiffly to show me how to make each finger dance up and down, staccato, like an obedient little soldier. He taught me all these things, and that was how I also learned I could be lazy and get away with mistakes. Lots of mistakes, if I hit the wrong notes because I just hadn't practiced enough. I never corrected myself, I just kept playing in rhythm, and old Chong kept conducting his own private reverie. So maybe I never really gave myself a fair chance. I did pick up the basics pretty quickly, and I might have become a good pianist at that young age, but I was so determined not to be anything different than I learned to play only the most ear-splitting preludes, the most discordant hymns. And discordant means lacking harmony, so it didn't sound very well. Over the next year, I practiced like this dutifully in my own way. And then one day, I heard my mother and her friend Linda Jong both talking in loud, bragging tone of voice so others could hear. It was after church, and I was leaning against the brick wall wearing a dress with a stiff white petticoats. Auntie Linda's daughter, Waverly, was about my age, was standing farther down the wall about 5 feet away. We had grown up together and shared all the closeness of two sisters squabbling over crayons and dolls, and that means fighting over small matters. In other words, for the most part, we hated each other. I thought she was snotty. Waverly Jong had gained a certain amount of fame as Chinatown's little Chinese chess champion. She bring home too many trophies, lamented Auntie Linda that Sunday. All day she played chess. All day I have no time to do nothing but dust off her winnings. She threw a scolding look at Waverly, who pretended not to see her. You lucky you don't have this problem, said Auntie Lindo with a sigh to my mother, and my mother squared her shoulders and bragged, Our problem worser than yours. If we ask Jing Mei wash cloths, she hear nothing but music. It's like you can't stop this natural talent. And right then I was determined to put a stop to her foolish pride. A few weeks later, old Chong and my mother conspired to have me in it play in the talent show, which would be held in the church hall. By then, my parents had saved up enough money to buy me a second-hand piano, a black Wurlitzer Spinet with a scarred bench. It was the showpiece of our living room. For the talent show, I was to play a piece called Pleading Child from Schumann's Scenes from Childhood. It was a simple, moody piece that sounded more difficult than it was. I was supposed to memorize the whole thing, playing the repeat parts twice to make the piece sound longer. But I dawdled over it, playing a few bars, then cheating, looking up to see what notes followed. I never really listened to what I was playing. I daydreamed about being somewhere else, about being someone else. The part I liked to practice best was a fancy curtsy. Right foot out, touch the rose on the carpet with a pointed foot, sweep to the side, soft leg bends, look up and smile. My parents invited all the couples from the Joy Luck Club to witness my debut. Auntie Lindo and Uncle Tin were there. Waverly and her two older brothers had also come. The first two rows were filled with children, both younger and older than I was. The littlest ones got to go first. They recited simple nursery rhymes, squawked out tunes on miniature violins, twirled hula hoops, pranced in pink ballet tutus, and when they bowed or curtsied, the audience would sigh in unison, "Aw," and then clap enthusiastically. When my turn came, I was very confident. I remembered my childish excitement. It was as if I knew without a doubt that the prodigy side of me really did exist. I had no fear whatsoever, no nervousness. I remembered thinking to myself, this is it, this is it. I looked out over the audience at my mother's blank face, my father's yawn, Auntie Linda's stiff lipped smile, Waverly's